Very good evening, everybody. I will quickly share some of my thoughts on teaching. It will be a confetti of thoughts rather than a logically planned kind of lecture. There is no time for that either. I will take approximately 15 minutes to do this. I believe that over the years, in recent decades, a teacher has become a performer on a stage. The classroom is a stage and the teacher is a performer. And the performer has to have all the paraphernalia of media. And when you talk about this PowerPoint presentation being made, that is what is really happening. Teachers are becoming like film directors. They have to decide what scene has to be shown first and, what time it has to be shown and how do you cut into another scene. And, you can add a bit of sound too, background music too. You see these apps all do that, So basically teaching is becoming not a ritual lecturing, but, it is a total performance. And the teachers, their personality needs to, they need to tune their personality to be a performer than a mere person who transmits some information by a lecture. I would also like to make this observation. Over years, I have noticed that our society has transformed. If you take last 50 years, our society has transformed. Every society has transformed. Many things, good transformation, maybe some things are bad, but those are inevitable things, reality of life. But one thing that has happened, as far as, especially as Kerala is concerned, is that, the average number of children in a family has dropped since 1991 to less than 2. That means you have many students sitting in our class. They come from a family in which they are the only child or they have one sibling. This is very interesting. When I recently wrote a book about the small part of Trivandrum where I was born, and most of the families 3 generations ago had 10, not only affluent families, the poor families also had 10 plus children in the house. So that means they come to the classroom with some kind of knowledge about adjusting with sharing and all that in the family itself. But whereas the new child from the nuclear family has no experience. Not only that, in 50 years ago, the house had a person who was all powerful, who took all the decisions, which was binding on others. Today, we have nobody like that in our family. Our family is more democratic. The children and parents are more friendly. And then they come to the school or the college, they find a very different model that the teacher tries to be all powerful, a sage on the stage, which doesn't work. I think we teachers need to realize that this doesn't work. You are no longer a sage on the stage. You are a guide by the side. Interestingly, the word Upanishad means, sitting beside the guru, which is the same concept of a tutorial system which evolved in UK, which said students at one end of the bench and the other end of the bench is the teacher. That is the tutorial system's first notion. You sit with the student and take part in a learning activity, hand holding them. So I think that model of Upanishad and the tutorial system is more appropriate for the current times, that the teacher treats the student as equal. This is what I have learned in my 33 years of teaching. I see this transformation which I have to adapt to, whether you like it or not, or whether you come from an age where the teacher was unquestionable, all powerful. That no longer works. I also find that the accreditation, the process of accreditation, has brought in a lot of good things, but has also brought in a lot of new rules of the game, some of which I find very annoying and very unacceptable. You have to do a large number of things to satisfy the accreditation process, which may not touch teaching process or learning process or the goodness of the students. Sometimes you just have to cook up papers just to ensure that things are happening well according to the assessment process of the accreditation. This is I would say it is a necessary evil. We should not institutions should not be living to live up to the accreditation process. That would be a pity. Most of our teachers, their quality time is eaten away in producing terrible Excel sheets and lot of documents and creating documentation that they themselves exist. You have to actually create a document and sign off. I find it very, very funny. And I also think that these are being misused. For example, an institution which is not running well can say we are A-grade institution. Now, general public may not know that there is A plus and A plus plus. So you claim that you are A, they might think you are the best. And then the NIRF ranking, some institutions, when they have terrible problems like students stabbing each other and all that, then the defense is that, we are number one in Kerala. Now, if you ask me, I would say if that is the case, then what that means is you don't trust NIRF. That is what it means, not that you are number one in Kerala. Anyway, I don't want to go too much into that, but I think that the accreditation process has pressed down on us, on academic institutions, a grid, which in some points is good, at some points is very unreasonable, idiotic, and does damage to the academic system. But as I said earlier, my stand is that this is a necessary evil. We cannot say, there's a famous statement, nobody likes accreditation, but nobody likes what else to. Nobody knows what else to do. That is my situation too. Online, there have been many remarks made on online. One of the biggest challenges on the online, other than the health issues and sitting in front of the computer and all, how assessment is to be done online is not very clear and not accepted by everyone. And this is a big challenge that is still open before us. My university, it has not been solved. And teachers have a very rare situation now. They are opening their living rooms to the student. For example, nobody would have seen what is there where I am sitting in my home usually. And this has brought in very funny situations. For example, a professor, a very grave professor who would never smile and was a terror. He lectures and suddenly on the screen, his wife appears and she says, "Stop your lecture now. Come cut some onion and then come back." And I think that even though it's a joke, the teacher becomes a human being in front of the student. I think it is good. I wouldn't agree to what the wife did, but altogether at the end of the day, it was good that the students realized, this professor is a human being. He has a family and he has. There is a place where he is treated equally and he is instructed. So that's good. That's good. And there are new forms of academic dishonesty now coming up. I learned this from my son. So he says, as somebody, the teacher earlier, my friend who earlier spoke said, you say you cannot come online because there is no data. And when you come online on a camera, then they say the data width is very low. So the teacher asks a question. The student acts as if he is stammering, so that to indicate to the teacher that the connectivity is very bad. But then the teacher asks, how come that your fan is rotating without any stammering, but your sound alone is stammering? And there are many ways in which they just when they are on audio, they actually ask one student to take care of listening to the lecture for 15 minutes. And when the teacher calls somebody by name, then he suddenly messages the other guys and then they come online and then try to answer. These new forms of games that are coming up. And I just thought I would mention this. And even though I said all this, I would say at the heart of teaching is not different at all to me. I've taught enough on the online system. I offer courses on Moodle. I offered a MOOC course a few years ago as an experiment. I would say the heart of teaching is not different. Let us not think that these peripheral things of what the media is and all that is completely changing the game. No. When we get adjusted to the online and we settle down for a moment, then what really matters is what is your pedagogy and how do you approach students and how do you connect with them and all that. So I wouldn't just say that the world has completely changed. Even when you are producing a video and giving it to students, there's your teaching mind that is working. That is what I would feel. There is this. I would finally like to say that technology is not merely providing online. Technology is going to do far more things soon, some of which may be very scary. I would like to call your attention to this terrible program which is not yet released. It is called GPT-3. And what can GPT-3 do? Actually, it can do anything that a human being can in terms of intellect. For example, I can ask it to write an article for me to get my promotion, for UGC promotion. Write an article on Indian aesthetics as applied to recent forms of dance, confluence of dance and all that, and it writes an article. If you don't believe it, this program is being released or being opened up to media selectively. The New York Times was given a chance to talk to GPT-3, and New York Times said, please write an article about whether computers will rule human beings. And the program readily wrote an article, and the newspaper thought that the article was publication worthy, and it was printed on the edit page of this very famous newspaper. And you may ask it to do anything. So what I would like to say is, as a teacher, my leading light has been Jerome Bruner, who said that anything can be taught to anyone. And today, as a technologist, I see a reflection of what Jerome Bruner said. The technology is saying anything can be learned. You can learn to write articles, you can learn to teach, you can learn to detect academic dishonesty. Everything can be learned. And so machine learning is a technology that is coming, which will have heavy impact, a very important impact on teaching and education. What has happened is, I would just like to say that in China, you put a camera in a classroom and the camera will catch students who are not attending, who are not actually celebrating, who are not really listening. In China, anything can happen. Citizens are divided into two, good and bad, and you have to go to the end of the queue if you are considered as bad by the government. So technology. So I just mentioned a tip of the iceberg. A lot of things are going to happen in the machine learning arena. That has much more impact than just simply going online and using Zoom and Google Meet and all that. I've rushed through, but I still hope that there were some profound points, take-home points, and we will deliberate on that. On another occasion, I would wish to speak leisurely and speak my heart out in a more detailed manner. Kindly permit me to leave now. Thank you.
Thank you.